Welcome to EMS Office Hours. I am Jim Hoffman, as always. This is sort of a special little Sunday morning edition. So we'll see how many people jump on here live with me today. And today I am joined by Jennifer Givens. Jennifer,
Yeah.
thanks for popping in today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know I was talking to you sort of before we started the show here, just telling you that I've been trying to get people who are paramedics or EMTs who sort of have a talent or a passion about something that's outside of EMS, and to just sort of highlight that there's more to us as providers than just being on that ambulance, and that a lot of us have talents that a lot of people don't even know about. I know when I was in a truck, and I've had many partners where you start to talk to them, you realize, oh, this person does a lot of different things besides being a paramedic. I knew one guy who blew glass. He was, be a glass blower, and just kind of odd things you never even like think about. One guy ran a one of those online gambling sites. That's what he was on his phone, on the truck. I'm like, what the hell are you doing over there? He's like, oh, I run an online gambling site, and it was legal, but it was just very time consuming. He was on that, and that was like his little thing that he did, and just things that people do that they can actually stay off of the ambulance a little bit, you know. So I want to talk a little bit about your passion, your talent, which I personally think you're very talented with that, with the singing and the songwriting. And some people listen. I did get a couple of messages that were like, Jim, why are you having somebody who's a singer on your EMS, podcast? What's so EMS related about it? And I'm like, yeah, okay, but if I had like Taylor Swift on here, I'd have a million people going, I want to be on that. I want to show up. So maybe one day you'll be a Taylor Swift for EMS providers. So I
Yeah,
know you're still a medic, right?
I am.
All right. And you're doing what, community paramedicine?
I did that for a bit. I am now in at Brunswick. I'm back on the truck there in Brunswick EMS. Eventually,
Okay.
they had talked to me about at some point starting a community paramedicine program there. We'll
Okay.
see. We'll see.
That costs a lot of money.
It does. That's why I
Yeah.
say we'll see.
Yeah, lots of. I know that in the past I've seen people who try to start up those community paramedic programs, and such a lot of money, and they get the initial funding, and then it becomes a struggle to keep the funding afterwards.
It is. So it's continuous grant writing, which I do, and so you do
There's,
that.
there's another talent that you
Ugh,
know people
I try
people
not to.
need.
I can't believe I said that. I don't want to voice that too much because it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
it
right
is.
sometimes.
That is something that over the years, you get people who look for someone to write grants for them. I know years ago I did one for an agency I worked for in upstate New York, and I wrote a grant for them. Never got the grant. Probably sucked at writing it, but it's just. But it is like you said. You kind of don't want people to know that you can kind of have the gist of doing that, because they're always trying to
Yeah,
get you to do it. Oh, you've done it before, so let's let you do it again. It
yeah,
is very time consuming. You have to know the ins and outs of all that. I did even a website, I think, right? emsgrants.com. I think that, well, it used to be anyway. It was part of the ems1.com sort of family of sites. And they have a whole thing there for grants and stuff. So just something to know. So you can go bother Jennifer to write a grant for you. You can go
well,
there and figure that out. So yeah, so I see Willie, of course, joining us again. Willie, thanks for popping in, bro. I appreciate you coming in and taking a few minutes out of your Sunday morning to join us here. So one of the reasons why, like I said, I was a friend of yours on Facebook, and I started to see some of the things you were doing, just sort of singing a little bit, and doing a lot of cover stuff. Um, and I was like, oh, she's really got a nice voice, and she nice way of putting some of the covers that she's doing. And then I started seeing sort of original stuff you were
yeah,
putting out there as well. I was like, oh wow, she's really kind of focusing in on this, and kind of making this something that's beyond just doing a cover song. I mean, I do karaoke on myself, and I'm like, okay, no one wants to record me for anything. And I actually just I before we came on today, or I think yesterday, day before, I was looking at some of the stuff, and I saw you did a cover of faithfully, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna play that. It was really good. And I don't want any kind of copyright problems, so I said, I better not put it on here and have people come
Oh,
after me. But I'll
I
tell
think
you,
as long as you give credit,
yeah, I guess, right? But
yeah, then it's
I
fine.
was like, I said, wow, that's a really nice version that you did of it with the acoustic guitar and stuff like that. So I encourage people to do that. Um, and in the show notes, everybody, as usual, I will have uh, links to everybody, to all of Jennifer's stuff. I'll put a Spotify link in there, link to her Linktree account, link to her Facebook page itself, the music page anyway. So people can kind of check out a lot of these songs. That'd be pretty cool. So, what have you always been into this, or is this something that just started coming out, later on in life?
No, I've been singing since before I can remember with I have a identical twin sister.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yeah, I do. And we look identical except, different hair. And so she and I and our brother, who is a year and a half older than us, we've been singing in the gospel arena since we were tiny. And
Oh,
I
cool.
come from a very musical family. My family up in Cherokee County, they did bluegrass. So I
Mm.
had that on one side of my family, and then on the other side of the family was Southern gospel. And so it was kind of this dual life and music growing up. We would do bluegrass on Saturday night and sing for Jesus on Sunday morning. And
Huh.
so that's always been my life, is music, centered around music. And I have my parents and my grandfather, especially, to thank for that.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just
Pushing you into it, or just also having a little bit of a voice and a musical talent?
yeah. Who? I'm sorry.
Your parents and
They all
grandparents,
sing
were they musically inclined as well, and
very
they
much so.
pushed you? Yeah.
Very much so. My grandfather, um, at one point had the opportunity to go play with, Bill Monroe in bluegrass many years ago and,
Hmm.
sing with him, but he had 6, 7 children at that time, and so he couldn't leave them. He sang, had a great voice. My mother had a beautiful voice. My father still sings. So yeah, I come from a long line of musicians and even cousins who are very musical as well.
Oh, cool.
Even the ones who don't sing, they're in arts in some form or fashion.
Right.
My
Yeah.
life was surrounded with arts,
That's
and
pretty
so
nice. That's cool. So when
but
you
yeah,
said the Sunday morning stuff, do you still do that?
not as much.
No. I know
Mhm.
I go to I was brought up with in Catholic, and now when I go to church on Sundays, I go to like the Christian church, and they got the Christian rock band type stuff going on,
Cool.
and I'm just always amazed because a lot of them are such good performers and good
They are.
singers, and I'm like, wow, these people are really talented, you
They
know.
are.
And I'm like,
They
they
really
never seen on American Idol or trying to get on The Voice or anything like that. They're always, they kind of stick to that little niche that they're in, which is nice, right? It's good that they're not trying to get outside of that, you know.
No, because they do it for a different purpose.
Right.
They're serving the Lord, but,
So
I
true.
grew up in Pentecostal, so it was very strict and, it was, everything that you did, you were gonna go to hell, and so, and so it was a
But,
fundamentalist kind of upbringing, and,
uh,
even though we would mom was the bluegrass side, and then my dad was the fundamentalist person,
right. Okay.
the
Okay.
2 together sometimes rubbed,
Mm,
but, finally, I think we were about 17 or 18, mom started taking us to a non-denominational church, and it was a little bit more relaxed, and then we could do more, live a little bit more free and not in
yeah.
such
Yeah.
a stringent
Right. Yeah.
environment. But
Yeah.
we traveled around a lot, we sang gospel, mom had us singing everywhere, and, so, then there was an opportunity when my sister and I were very young to go sing for some executives, music executives, and,
Oh, really? Cool.
mom's, this guy fell in love with the idea of 2 little twin girls singing country music. Well, my dad didn't like that, and my mom was like, "Are my baby's gonna have to sing in honky tonks and stuff like that. Well, yeah. And mama said, no, 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 not having it. So she said, y'all can, when you're 18, y'all can figure out what you want to do with music. Well, by the time we were 18 or 19, we had our eyes set on a different life. And
Right.
it wasn't until many years later that I got serious again about music.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm too old now,
I know. I
and
hear you. Well, I'll
and
tell you. It's do you ever did you ever break out into song on the ambulance or sing around?
oh,
Because it's just
very sometimes I'm not one of those people that, just goes around just tra-la-la-la-la,
yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah,
because I think sometimes it can get obnoxious.
yeah.
If I do all that, um, I really try to protect my musical world from
Yeah, I kind of, I
that.
yeah, I'm the same way. Like I know I never went around broadcasting that I had. I sell these educational things for EMS people, and I do some digital marketing stuff for businesses and stuff. And I never really went around broadcasting that. I always try to keep those two parts of my world separate. I don't know if that's a good thing. Depends upon I guess who you talk to, right? Some people are like, oh, you should really always sing your talents and from the rooftops and tell everybody what you're good at because you never know who you're going to connect with. But the other side of that, like you said, you don't want to be that come off of like obnoxious and come off as like you're pushing something that nobody really cares about, like that.
Yeah,
The thing is that I never knew. I mean, I worked with you for a short time, but I never knew that this was something that you were
right.
passionate about. So it was so surprising to me when I came across that, on the Facebook, page and stuff. And actually, you just popped up in my feed one day, and I was like, "Oh, I know this girl." And then, started listening to it and came across a lot of it. So I think what I want to do, I don't want to keep people popping in here too long, but I like to at least play one of the songs that you have. I know you sent me a few. I like to play the one and hopefully it'll come through. I'm gonna pop it up on YouTube and share my screen, but it's called The Other Side.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is there a story behind that before
There
I
is.
do this, or is this just something that
Yes.
you're
That song's actually pretty special. They're all my songs are special to me. This
yeah.
one in particular, um, I wrote after my mother passed away.
Oh, okay.
Um, I had a dream that I got to visit her in heaven, and she was sitting on the ground working the dirt like she would do in real life, and I got to visit with her for a little bit. And the song is a back and forth conversation with my mom,
Oh, okay.
and it
Okay.
was just a way for me, I think, to deal with that
So
loss.
many I hear there's a lot of singers that do that, and like even artists, like you said, artists and people that are very creative, they end up, everything is a lot of it very personal to them,
Sure.
and it goes back on relationships and family and all that stuff, and that's such a cool thing, that you can kind of express that through the art,
Yes.
whether it's music or drawing or poetry or writing or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's I just had an I try to write in an ambiguous way to where, you can relate, to other aspects of life. Like I had a person who had just come out of recovery
Mm,
for alcohol addiction, and they messaged me and said that this song spoke to them being on the other side of a situation. And so but that's the story behind why I wrote it, and I'm just thankful that other people can relate to some of the lyrics. So,
cool. All right, listen.
yeah,
Let me just pause here a second.
sure.
I'm going to see if we can get this up. I know they changed the interface on me on this deal here. There we go. All right. All right. So this, like I said, this is The Other Side by Jennifer. And if you guys, I guess you can go to YouTube and hit the like button there. But like I said, I put links to all this stuff in. So I'm gonna shut my pie hole and let this song play out. It's about a little over 4 minutes. So, but I think it's one of the ones that I've enjoyed myself, and I hope people listen will stick through it and listen to the whole song.
Draw me close and carry me soon. Tell me I'm where I belong. Lend me your strength and give me your hope. Gently awaken my soul. I'm on the other side. I'm not alone. You're on the other side. I'm home. My shame and mend all my scars. Shelter me safe in your arms. Whisper my name when morning has dawned. Cradle my fate in your heart. I'm on the other side. I'm not alone. You're on the other side. I'm home. Take all my feet and bury it low. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm on the other side. I'm not alone. You're on the other side. I am home. Once disciplined, lost their way.
Wow, really good song, I will tell you.
Thank you.
I was thinking while I was playing it, do you do all of the other stuff in the background as well?
The chanting
Uh-oh,
or the
went to the
music?
next channel. Do you do all the arrangements and stuff and the instruments, or how do you work that?
So the producer for this album was Jeff Fielder out in Seattle, and he did most of the instrumentation.
Okay.
Um, we also had Jim Brock from Charlotte and Michael Musburger out west. I think he did drums on it, but mainly Jeff Fielder, who plays for the Amy Ray Band, and Nancy Wilson of Heart. He
Hmm.
did a great deal of the instrumentation on it.
Oh,
And
cool.
then the arrangement, yes, I generally have an idea or a concept for the arrangement. So I do some of the producing, but mainly Jeff Fielder just took my songs and to a next level.
Yeah.
He's just such a professional and unbelievably talented and creative.
Wow. So the where they take the music and then they just, I guess, you send them a voice version
I,
and they kind of
I send
put
a
it all together.
concept. So I record like sometimes I'll record a concept at home in my home studio and
Hmm.
I'll play guitar and keys and I
Okay.
might do a drum pad just to give the producer an idea of
Right.
what I'm looking for. And but what I play is never on the final track because nobody wants any of that mess. So I'll leave that to the professionals, and then I'll come back through and do a final vocal on it and background
Oh, okay.
vocals.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. I know that a few years ago I wrote a song for my fiance,
mhm,
and I wrote the lyrics, and I thought, okay, now first it was like a poem. I know that's kind
yeah,
of gay for some people out there, but um, but then I ended up going on like Garage Band and just doing like a little of a concept
yeah,
of the music, and then I went on to these these freelancer sites, and I had somebody write all the music for it, for me, just a basic sort of piano track in the background, and then I found someone to sing it, you know,
yeah.
for me, and and it's that I'm just that was like a minor thing that I did, just one little thing and basic, one piano thing, and it's challenging. So I can imagine that something like you're doing, you got all the different instruments and try and get it all together, and the hook and all that stuff. It's a process,
It is. Some songs come easier to me than others, and it helps if you play at least a little bit of some instruments
Yeah, a
that
little bit. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's really hard to have that discussion with other musicians.
Yeah.
And
What sucks
so,
now is that I've seen some of the there's like a service out there now who will write a song for you, like for your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever. You give them a little story, and then they write the lyrics and they put music to it. It can be like in rap or country or different, genres and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, they're gonna steal people's thunder with this computerized, AI stuff going on
oh
now.
yeah,
You
we were
know,
just having a discussion, and me and some musicians about that, where it's
yeah,
going to destroy music. It's just going to take away all the authenticity
right.
of
The
the
originality of it and
artistry that
stuff, and 'cause I'm sure even with this, a lot of the stuff that I've seen, some of the advertisements for that, where you can almost tell that it's going to be a lot of the same sort of underlying theme of the music and the lyrics and stuff like that. So, uh, but hopefully, people like you and other music artists that are out there keep going. The AI doesn't steal people. Who was it that they did something, did a song, and the guys, that's not my song, right? One of the rappers or
that was a
something.
rapper. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of the
yeah,
rappers. I can't remember his name, but I just saw
yeah.
that.
He
Yeah,
did that. Did that? He was like, "What the hell's going on?" And again,
Croc.
these poor people are going to end up spending a lot of money on lawyers trying to protect their intellectual property and protect, their name. That's not me singing that. It's an AI version of me singing it. So,
That makes me
yeah,
so angry seeing what's
I'm
becoming.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, listen, Jennifer, thanks so much for popping in here. I hope people, like, again, didn't get as many people jumping in as I had hoped, but that's okay because it just lives on forever. So that's a thumbs
yeah.
up. Um, but this will be on the main side at emsofficehours.com, and I'll be sure to, like I said, put all the links to the way people can get in touch with you and your music and all that stuff in the show notes. And if you think of anything in the meantime, be sure that you can send it over to me and I'll add it to the show notes. It'll probably be not next week, probably the week after, I'd say, when this will go live. And I'll let you know when that happens. And like I said, it'll be going up on Instagram and all the other social media channels that I belong to. So I really appreciate you
Thank
jumping in
you.
and kind of displaying some of this stuff. Is there anything you want to leave anybody with before we venture off, EMS or otherwise?
other than just telling, EMS folks what we already know, you've got to find an outlet. You got to find something else that you do outside of EMS,
Yeah.
so that you're not completely eat up with it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yep.
so important. I don't care if it's something as simple as knitting, something. Find something to do. Your world doesn't have to be revolved around these traumatic calls and, you
Right.
know,
That's so
adrenaline
true.
junkie situations.
Yeah.
Find dopamine. Find a way to release dopamine.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
so true though, because and like you just said, the knitting thing. I know people that would do that, and just some kind of an outlet,
Anything.
to help out, and I think it does pay off for people. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll end it there. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. As always, I am Jim Hoffman from EMS Office Hours. Stay safe.